Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the YouTube audiobook series for The Forbidden Truth, written by Abby Matthias. I am Abby Davis, and today I will be introducing Chapter 30. If you missed Chapter 29, links in the description below, and I would highly suggest watching it if you haven't. It's getting really good. And if you are all caught up and ready to go, we will continue on with Chapter 30, Last Man Standing.
Eventually, after I was able to calm down again, Abby and I stood up and fully examined our new form. We practiced and maneuvered different parts of the body to see if either of us had singular control over anything. Yet we found out that the only thing that we didn't share control over were the two sets of arms. Only one pair was strictly mine, while the other pair were hers. Even the wings could be controlled by either of us. Even though she had the opportunity, she said that if there was ever a time we needed to fly with the wings, that I would be the one controlling them. Despite that, as we now tried to understand what this form was, Damien and Nala went to go get ice for our head, as it was still pounding.
Hey, Darius?
Abby asked, grabbing my attention. Yes, Abby?
Am I allowed to try something?
I don't see why not. But just don't wreck the house.
No. I won't. I'm trying something with the mirror.
After that, she took one step forward and cleared our throat.
The mirror needs to resort back to its original size.
At that command, the mirror then began to decrease in size and resort back to its original state. Both of us were shocked as to what exactly that was, but it made my mind curious as to if we could manipulate anything else.
I know what you're thinking, Darius. Do you really want to try?
My protector child asked, interrupting my thoughts again. Well, I would like to. Aren't you just the slightest bit of curious as to what kind of power we hold? Wondering what exactly we can do within this form? I know I was freaking out earlier, and I'm still a little shook by finding out why this is all happening. But I'm still curious to find out what this entity can do. Just then, our body started to glow red and magenta while the ball of energy grew again within our chest.
Darius? What are you doing?
Absolutely nothing. This isn't me. Then within a matter of seconds, I felt as if I was being pulled to the left and I was suddenly stumbling on my feet. Abby, however, fell to the floor, and I heard the thud. Yet before I ran to her, I realized that I was as myself, except with all my features out in the open. My wings, arms, and muscles were still activated for some reason. My skin tone was back to its red color, which made me assume my normal characteristics were back. Yet that wasn't as important as Abby groaning on the floor. So brushing my feelings aside, I ran to her aid to ensure she was okay. Abby, are you okay? I asked, kneeling to her side and gently helping her sit up. Upon the commotion, Nala and Damien came running back and showed their concerns. However, they were also shocked at the sudden change of my appearance. They just didn't vocalize it yet. However, eventually, my human spoke.
I'm fine. I was just thrown a little bit. Nothing's broken. I'll recover. Well, that's somewhat of a relief,
Damien said, hugging her side.
I'm glad you're okay.
Then swiftly he gave her a kiss on the cheek to pick up her spirits. She smiled from the gesture, and relief began to consume me, at least for a little bit.
Honey, why did your appearance change?
Naive, Nala asked. To be fair, I said a little hesitantly, I did have these features before this all happened, They were just hidden. They were retractable. As for the muscles, I'm clueless. They only act up when I get mad or defensive. But the wings and arms are able to hide within my body.
Are they not retractable now?
Damien questioned, chiming in. I would believe so. I just didn't do anything to make them disappear. With that in mind, I began to close my eyes and thought about everything disappearing. Yet as I did so, nothing happened. My body felt a twinge of movement as if they were about to. However, they never made the switch. They were stuck out in the open, and I didn't know how to feel about it.
You can't retract them, can you?
Abby said, knowing my facial expressions at this point. At that, I shook my head and somberly replied, No, for some reason I can't. I still feel a large amount of energy within my chest. I don't think they will go down with that activated.
You still feel it? It isn't just me.
I guess not if you're feeling it too. But then that means you might have more power malfunctions within this form. I think we need to get you back into your body.
Yeah, I agree.
Once everyone agreed with my idea, I stood myself up and helped my protector child stand. Eventually, after stabilizing herself, she walked over and touched her arm. I patiently waited for her demon spirit to disappear and absorb into her body. However, within a span of 5 seconds, she screamed and turned back to show me her fright. Her hand began to be consumed by a dark blue mist. The same mist that has been shown to us more than once. A power that alarmed me as to what it was doing. Satan was doing something, and I needed to know what.
Abby!
Damien cried. Before Damien could rush over to his girlfriend, I ran in front of him and began to grab her hand, hoping the effects taking place would be transferred to me instead. Sadly, though, it didn't. Eventually, she became surrounded by the dark blue mist, and within seconds she disappeared out of thin air. Just like that, she was gone again. Yet I had a good inkling as to where she went.
Honey, where's Abby?
Nella asked, panicked. Sweetheart, if I told you, you would panic more. I stated, dreadful to even answer her question.
Dad, don't tell me that it was—
Yes, Damien. It wasn't. Because of that, I really need to cut this short and go. I exclaimed, speeding up my words towards the end. Damien then looked at me with a sad and sincere look and asked one final question.
Dad, how are you going to get her back?
I peered at both my wife and son, fear rising in their bodies, concerned about what will happen to Abby, but especially what will happen to me. However, I stood tall within my spot and looked at him once more with aggression and confidence. By doing everything in my power to get her back. Literally. And with that, I quickly dove to the floor and began to dive through the earth to make my way. Flying as fast as I could, I made my way to the bastard's castle. Any time she has been teleported, it's been to his office. Trying to get there as fast as I can, I heard her cry for help in my head. Desperate and frightened by what he was doing. Fury was all I felt while my fire instantly activated. So as a ball of flame, I shot into the open castle walls and slammed into Satan's office door. Instantly, the wood crumbled and splintered as I was greeted by nothing. His office was quiet and dark while I somewhat illuminated it with the fire. They weren't here. Where the hell were they?
Darius Stone, what in blue blazes are you doing here?
A familiar voice called from behind me. Turning myself sharply, my eyes took in the sight of Brutus, the evil one's assistant, the one who would know where Satan was. So quickly extinguishing my flames, I grabbed Brutus by the throat and walked to the railing of the stairs. I held him over the edge, 5 stories up from hitting the ground floor, hard tile ground that would kill him if I dropped his body, especially if I threw him down. Brutus kept grabbing at my arm, trying to hold on. somewhat stuttering as he didn't want to fall. "Tell me where Satan is, now!" I demanded.
I can't.
He uttered out. "Bullshit, you can't! Tell me where he is now before I set you on fire and drop you to the floor!"
Mr. Stone, if I could tell you where he was, I would. He didn't tell me where he was going. He just had business to do on Earth.
"Well, that business is costing you your life. Tell me what it was."
I don't know.
At that moment, I began to loosen my grip, slowly to threaten his life. However, my eyes were finally being filled with a visual of where Abby was, while my ears listened. She was in some sort of arena-like place. Satan had her against him while he was threatening her life. Her breathing was hard while she cried out again.
Darius!
She screamed. "Go ahead. Cry for your protector, demon. I need to see him as well. Bring him to me." He then extended his claws to make them long and sharp as he pressed them to her vocal cords. "You try pulling any more tricks, I'll slit that pretty little neck of yours." After that, a tear rolled down her face as she whimpered within his arms, scared out of her mind and waiting for my arrival. Once everything was shown to me, the visual and sounds faded, and I stared once again at Brutus. "How many arenas are there in hell?" I asked, screaming.
About 10.
He choked. "Which one is the most convenient for Satan? Which one holds most significance to him?"
I would have to say the Nux Arena. It's near your house, about 600 yards east.
Once I got that information, I brought Brutus back over and thrown him against the wall while I once again shot out of the castle like a bullet. Within a span of 5 seconds, I found the Nox Arena and seeing 2 figures upon the ground. Knowing who it was, I dropped out of the sky and landed aggressively upon the dirt floor, cracking it from the amount of force I created. Now, I stood in front of my creator as he had a hold of my protector child's throat. Yet as I took in the sight, the feeling of deja vu hit me like a ton of bricks. I have seen this before within my dreams. Abby and Satan both looked the same, but I was different. I was in my stronger form, and Satan was far from being pleased. His hand was pressed tight against Abby's neck, while he stared at me with fury. "It's about time you showed up. I thought you were just giving your protector child to me," he snarled. "I would do no such thing. Let her go." "Not until you tell me the truth." "About what?" I exclaimed, knowing what he exactly wanted me to say. "What am I lying about?" "Everything. You knew all along that you were the key to my long-term goal. This protector demon job has advanced your abilities and skills to being the chosen one. No wonder your precious human was gaining powers. It was because of you all along. And you were trying to mislead me. You hid your abilities and completely disobeyed my orders. First off, I hid my abilities because all I was gonna do was get punished for even having them, regardless of how it is out of my control. And second, I didn't know I was the chosen one until today. But now it's your turn to explain what am I the chosen one for. The damn prophecy that will make me even more powerful than what I am now. I have needed the perfect demon to fulfill my destiny, and it has been you. You're a bastard for hiding yourself from me. I was in plain sight, and I couldn't hide from you even if I tried. Plus, that doesn't explain anything about me being the chosen one. What I fully understand, though, is that this has nothing to do with Abby, and you now have me in your presence. Let her go, now! Upon my demand, my mouth pinched harder together as he growled in frustration. However, as he did that, I noticed he looked to the side and then back to me. He was double-taking and about to throw Abby to the side. Knowing that, I dug my feet into the ground to gain grip before he would lunge her sideways. Fine, I will. and he quickly wound Abby back and began to throw her across the arena. She screamed as the toss began, but as soon as he let go of her, I bolted forward with my wings to fly after her. As of this time around, I was able to get to her faster. I was able to catch her sooner and drifted onto the ground again, while using the wings as a shield. With my arms and wings surrounding her, Abby began to cling to me for dear life, sobs almost escaping her. However, she kept that all inside while showing her terror. Her arms were wrapped around me, and I allowed her to keep them there. After another brief moment, my wings unfolded and showed us embracing and safe from his aggravative plan. Yet that only made Satan more infuriated.
Look at yourself, Darius,
he screamed, walking closer to us.
These changes signify your greatness and potential to be more within this realm. A great deal of power is in your possession, and you yield it as if you don't even want it. Why don't you want it? Why do you choose to be a measly protector demon for a girl you didn't even know?
Abby swiftly helped me off the ground as he spoke. Yet as soon as I was able, I pushed her behind me and brought my arms up to block the devil from reaching out for her. Because I am already doing something great, and that's protecting her. I don't want to work for you or with you ever again. I don't need to be a part of your plan or be powerful to feel important.
Darius, your gifts will bring the entire demon world peace and happiness. This is your chance to be something more than you already are. You could do so much good, just like you wanted back when you were human. You wanted to do right by people and aid the ones who are struggling. This is your shot to do so. Complete the prophecy and find your true destiny.
Not this time, you old fool, I stated. I won't be persuaded this time. Whatever you want me to do, I refuse. This prophecy you're obsessed with must only mean more destruction and terror will come to the people, not justice, and not generosity. That is not what I want. You only want to cause harm to everyone and care only for yourself. I fell victim to your shenanigans once before, but that will never happen again. Satan was very displeased to hear my response as he clenched his fists tightly. His eyes widened to fully stare into mine. His nose was scrunched as his anger started to visibly show. Just like in the dream I had, which meant he had another ace to play that I didn't know about.
Or you will do as I say and fulfill this prophecy with me, otherwise everything that you love will be ripped from you.
Immediately after his statement, I lifted my left arm up to project a force field around us to ensure we would be safe. He wouldn't be able to reach us through the protective barrier. Yet he paused for a moment and smiled at my witty action.
That may protect you when you're human from my wrath, but it won't protect the other two people that you love the most.
Satan then snapped his fingers, and two thumps sounded to the left of me. Gazing at the sound, my sight was blasted with my frightened family, confused as to where they were and what was going on. Damien and Nala were now within hell, and unprotected from the devil's rage. "They can't be down here!" I exclaimed. "You are breaking your own laws!"
I don't care, and now you can watch your family die.
Instantly, he summoned a plasma ball and shot it right at my wife and son. "No!" I screamed, raising my hand up to them. Before the ball could reach them, another force field appeared around them, and it disappeared upon the impact. They cowered as the energy crashed into the barrier, but I at least knew they were safe within the shield.
Clever, you selfish prick,
Satan scowled.
Darius is not selfish!
Nala exclaimed. "Nala, don't!" I sternly said. "This isn't your battle to fight, and I don't want either of you getting hurt." After that, everyone fell silent, and I began to talk to Abby within my head for a moment. "When I start moving, follow me."
Okay, I will.
She replied back. Soon after that, I brought down our force field while sending all of my strength to the one surrounding Damien and Nala. Then, I began to walk towards them as I spoke. If you want to talk about being selfish, that card can easily be played on you more times than me. Every action you make is littered with selfishness. At least mine are for the greater good of others.
Those people don't matter as much as me. I'm the leader of this realm, and you refuse to take orders and serve your king.
You are not my king, nor my leader. You are my enemy and have always been. I only played nice with you in order to save my protector child and myself. I knew you were playing me all this time, trying to be nice when all you are is evil. You only wanted something from me. Now what is it? At the end of my question, I was able to make it to the area where Nala and Damien were. I actually ended up walking through the barrier along with Abby to have us be in a group of 4 instead of a group of 2. That worked out better than expected. Regardless, I kept my focus on Satan while my family moved in towards us to huddle.
Information. I needed to know what abilities you had to find out what the hell you were turning into. Yet finally I found out just by what I saw back on Earth. You and your protector child fused and became one with each other within the demon realm, an entity that I have been dreaming of becoming to this very day. Yet I needed to find the other demon that was capable of doing so. That demon that I needed is called the Chosen One. They would be considered a pure demon who has equal power to me. Yet I took that phrase too literal. The day you closed the curtains in my office and demanded that I talk to you were just the start of my wandering curiosity. No one has ever been able to close those shades unless it was me. Then that firepower of yours appeared and I suddenly knew you were becoming valuable. Yet I needed to know how. I kept trying to search for answers day and night until I was driven to insanity. But then today, when I spied on you, I seen the most amazing thing. My prize deal being my one-way ticket to immortality. Once we fuse, we will be the most powerful entity within all the universe. We will be worshipped for all eternity and be the god of darkness.
Darius would never fuse with you.
Abby said, screaming from behind me still.
I'm sure he would rather die again before that happens.
He doesn't have a choice. Either he will surrender himself to me or you all are going to die.
You will not lay a finger on any part of my family, especially because of the barrier between us. Once I said that, the devil began to laugh hysterically within his booming voice. Yet once he was composed, he spoke again.
Yet you forget the kind of deal you made with me, Darius Stone. You never really read our terms and conditions within that contract.
Satan snapped his fingers again, and I waited with bated breath for something to happen. I figured he was making the contract appear, yet I heard something much worse. Instead, I heard my son grunting and screaming within my force field. Peering down to see what was going on, Nala tried to hold Damien up as he suddenly became weak. However, she couldn't hold him, and his body crashed to the ground.
Damien!
Abby cried. With panic and fear, I quickly kneeled down to his side to see what was happening. Yet before I could make it there, a circling cloud of dark blue smoke engulfed him to hide him away from sight. Now, all that was clear was the sounds of him screaming in agony.
According to our agreement, in order for your son to live, he would need another soul because of how his fate was going. Luckily for you, you were willing to give up your own to give to your living and breathing child. A life for a life. However, with doing that, it grants me access to take claim what is rightfully mine.
After all the truth came ranting out, the smoke began to disappear, and my son was revealed to be a changed man. For the sight that I took in was a large man with black creased horns coming out of the sides of his head. His skin was changed to the same shade of red as mine, while his black nails protruded from his fingertips like claws. He was breathing heavily while trying to compose himself. Despite that, he knew something was wrong and began to see himself within a new form. His shirt was now a silver color, while his pants were black. Yet nothing stabbed me through my heart more than when he turned his head to me to gaze into my eyes. His facial expression showed concern and fear clear as day, his yellowish green eyes piercing back at me, while his hand was upon his chest. "Dad," he said with a lowered voice. "I can't feel a heartbeat. He killed me." At that very moment, my heart shattered into a million pieces. Tears began to swell in my eyes while Nala came rushing over to view her baby. Yet as she approached, she began to cry and hug him in despair.
Please, not my son! You already took my husband! Please, don't take my son! He's all I have left of family!
Well, it's too late to give him back. The life has already left him.
Immediately she sobbed loudly in grief. With every cry I heard, I grew angrier and angrier. Satan broke the deal between us by killing my child. He took away my wife's pride and joy, my son's life, and Abby's sanity. As for me, he took everything and put the ones I loved through hell. It was one thing to do it to me, but it was another to torment the living. With everything clashing at once, a switch in my head flipped, and all I was consumed with was rage. I slowly lifted myself off the ground and stared at the creator of chaos. A wide smirk was upon his face, and he eventually lifted his left arm up with an open palm, insinuating for me to join him. Yet at that gesture, I brought down my force field and immediately lunged and propelled myself with my wings to slam his back against the nearest wall of the arena. That action sent us both into a civil war. The battle of the millennium, a fight against good and evil. One of us was going to die, right here and right now. It was a fight for life. Satan tried to resist being pinned, but I was too strong for him to break my hold. My teeth were gritted while my breath was furious. If I was some sort of fire breather, smoke would be rolling out of my nostrils. However, Satan was able to use his psychokinesis to fling me away, yet because of my grip, he came flying with me, and we were both slammed onto the ground, free from our entanglement.
Darius!
Abby yelled from across the way. The pain spread throughout my body, but quickly dissipated as I began to grab Satan's arm again and throw him. Put the defender shield around yourself and my family.
But Darius, you need help!
Just do it, Abby. Do not move from that spot, and don't let that shield down. Then I threw Satan across the way again to hopefully slam him against the back wall once more. Quickly, glancing back, my protected child did as I asked and placed her force field around themselves. At least it would give them protection while I dealt with the monster at hand. A small dust bowl consumed a small portion of the arena as I glanced back to my enemy. However, no signs of life had shown for a moment in time. No breath, no cough, or groans came from the dust cloud. However, eventually a deep growl and glowing orange and yellow eyes emerged and made themselves known. Slowly, Satan walked out into the open and clenched his fists tight. His teeth were showing and grinding together with fury while his breath became aggressive. As he glared at me like the disobedient citizen I was, I stared right back with all of my hatred displayed. My jaw clenched while my eyebrows furrowed. Every muscle within my body constricted while standing with all the confidence I could muster. The fire within me flowing through my body like blood to almost make my skin boil. This rivalry between us had reached its full capacity. There was no room for games or niceties. No more brushing things off and pretending like everything was fine. This was the end of it all. I will not let this happen, I said aloud. I refuse to help you hurt innocent souls. I will never fuse with you, and if that means I have to leave blood on my hands, then so be it.
You don't have the balls, Darius. I would love to see you try.
After that, I brought my hand up to activate my psychokinesis. The force wrapped around his throat as he grabbed at it with his hands. Yet I rapidly dragged his body at the fastest speed possible while I swung my left arm back, ready to punch. As I felt the slightest of grins appear on my face, Satan swung his legs up and clashed them into my stomach, using the momentum to send me flying back. A large boom sounded as I impacted with Abby's defender shield, while my family screamed in terror. My body folded to the ground for a moment while I regained myself once more.
Dad, let me help you, please!
Damien cried. Refusing to say a word to him, I gazed back to find the devil was nowhere to be seen on the ground. Instead, he was levitating in the air and gathered his plasma ball of fury to shoot straight at me. Luckily enough, I flew myself to the right and upward as the energy struck down to the dirt and left a black mark. My fire finally activated at that point as I expeditiously flung my arm back and I landed an uppercut upon Satan's jaw as I passed by. Flipping myself around and looking down, I immediately fired my flames at him to burn his skin. Yet even then, he had a defense against it. He was able to create water and bended it like a sphere to surround his body. The fiery flame sizzled against the cooling wet liquid, making the fire extinguish. Stopping myself, I watched the rest of the fire dissipate before he made the water evaporate into nothing. Then out of nowhere, loud crashes and crumbling sounded from below me. But before I could examine what happened, chains began to clamp onto my limbs to begin restraining me. As they rattled from my resistance and movement, my opponent snapped his fingers as a dagger appeared in his hand.
If you won't willingly fuse with me, I'll forever corrupt your mind to make you change your mind.
Try all you want, it won't do anything.
That's what you think.
Immediately afterwards, he forcefully wound his arm up, flew directly in front of me and drove the dagger into my shoulder. A violent scream came from my mouth as the striking pain swelled in my body. I could feel my own blood begin to drip out of my wound, while a stinging sensation began to spread down into my arm and neck.
I should have done this to you a long time ago. This hellish dagger is corrupted with pure evil. Whoever is stabbed with it gets injected with a poison-like substance that eventually makes it all the way to their brain, shifting the victim's purest views to be evil and tainted with the worst intentions. It won't take long for you to lose your goodwill.
As he spoke, the tingling venom had traveled to every part of my body, especially within my head. Whispers and groans began to swirl in my mind, quickly consuming it little by little, black streaks appearing on my hands and slowly traveling up my arms. Whatever this poison was, it was physically showing itself and taking over. The red color of my skin was fading and turning gray while I fought with my own morals. Killing was a thriving thrill I wanted. Stealing everything from everyone was a necessity. Love and happiness is a lie. There was no such thing. Pain and misery was what everyone deserved. If I was the one dealing it out, the screams will taste sweet. I have earned the right to become immortal. I would obey my master and become the Destroyer.
Abby, we have to do something. We can't just watch my dad being stabbed.
Damien said, screaming at me.
Damien, there isn't anything we can do. We don't have special abilities like he does.
Nala said, trying to take his arm, but he quickly shoved himself away and kept banging on the protective barrier.
I don't care. I could climb the chains and get to him. I'm not just gonna stand here while my dad is screaming.
Yes, you are, Damien, I finally said, still looking up at Darius and Satan. The devil stabbed my demon in the shoulder and was talking, yet I couldn't hear what they were saying. Yet my sight was on Darius.
He was wavering back and forth and shaking his head, like he was fighting with himself. However, nothing scared me more than seeing his red skin tone fade. That I could see slowly starting to shift. Something was terribly wrong, and I needed to know what it was. Darius, what's happening? Tell me you need my help! I called out in his head. However, he didn't respond. So thinking on a whim, I tried to tap into his hearing to listen to what was happening. Yet once again, it came with no luck. Panicked as to what to do, my eyes burned once more, and I was able to gaze through my demon's eyes. He stared up to Satan to find his devilish smirk upon his face. No more screams filled the air, but Satan began to speak to him.
Now, Darius, has your mind changed? Will you obey your leader and do as I say? Will you join me to bring corruption to this world along with the next one? Will you rise to your full potential and become the Destroyer?
I wish to reign along your side. I wish to please my master in any way possible. I shall fuse with you to become the Destroyer.
The voice I just heard sounded nothing like my protector demon. He wasn't thinking the way he should. Whatever that dagger was, it somehow corrupted his mindset. Then before I could think more, Satan extended his arm out to Darius, and my vision was restored. Darius, no! I screamed while letting down the defender shield. No response came from him, and I knew I needed to interfere and stop the madness. Instantly, I began to fly up to my demon as fast as I could. Despite that, he began to lift his arm up while the chains extended for him to do so. Before he got too close, I charged up my electric lightning and screamed, "Get the fuck away from him!" And I threw my shocking bolt into Satan. As it struck him, he began to drop to the ground as he grunted, allowing me to break their connection and make my way to Darius. As I approached, his eyes were glowing pure red. He was like a mindless puppet, and I didn't know what to do. So I began to shake him and get into his head. "Darius, it's me, Abby, your protector child." A blank stare is all he gave me. "Answer me, damn it!" Still no response.
He's gone, Abby.
Satan said, floating behind me.
He's mine now. He's already converted and accepted the evil side of himself. You'll never get him back now.
"Bullshit!" I exclaimed, throwing up my protective barrier again around my demon and myself. "If I know my protector demon well enough, he will fight back. He won't succumb to your dastardly plans."
I beg to differ. Restrain her, Darius.
He commanded. Without hesitation, a pair of arms grabbed a hold of my wings and jerked me back against his body. Yet before he could clamp me down, I sent another electric bolt flying into Darius, stunning him for a brief moment while I tried to fly away. However, the shock was not strong enough to stun him fully. For the next moment, he grabbed my ankle, twisted it to spin me around, and dragged me down to his level. I tried to resist his action. However, with his new strength, I couldn't do anything to stop him. So all I could do was stare at my demon, who lost his innocence while Satan laughed. "Darius! I know you're still in there. This isn't you, and you need to fight to be in control again."
Tighten your grip around her. Make her scream.
At his command, Darius did what he was told. My arms were now being squeezed by his claws. I believed they ended up puncturing my skin, for at that moment I began to scream in pain. "Darius, stop! You're hurting me!" I cried. Again, no response. He wasn't listening to me. He was lost in a world of darkness.
She is standing in the way of your future. Kill the girl and officially claim her as dead. Then when we fuse, we shall wed her. Drain her life away to officially make her our property.
Yes, Master.
He said obediently. At that, I began to feel his hands begin to warm up, slowly beginning to burn my skin and make me cry out a final time. Darius, ow! Please stop! Don't do this! You're breaking your promise to me! The laughter of Satan filled my ears while my skin began to burn intensely. More screaming followed as I closed my eyes in fear. Regardless of my last moments, the sudden clanking of chains rumbled and Darius's grip released. I fell for a moment, but my wings took flight again before I could get anywhere near the ground. Finally able to relax my muscles and open my eyes, I found that Darius had pulled the chains out of the ground and wrapped them around the devil. Looking at my demon, I saw his eyes were normal again and his skin was too. He was back. By some means, he came back to his senses to finish the fight.
My master eventually presented his hand to me, signaling me to grab it. Not even having to say a word, I moved my arm towards his open palm. Excitement running through my veins, knowing that within a matter of seconds I would be one with my creator, a demon's dream, to please his leader and work alongside him through eternity. Showing his devotion to the King of Darkness and proving oneself to be as righteous as he is. Yet as I was about to touch Satan's hand, he was electrocuted and fell out of sight. Out of nowhere, a strange woman succubus appeared in front of me, and I didn't know what to think. Was this his wife? Or some sort of betrothed that was promised to him? She was beautiful to say the least, curves and all, while she wore a red dress of royal fabric. Regardless, she was a woman I would gladly take to bed within a millisecond.
Darius, it's me, Abby, your protector child.
What the hell was a protector child? Yet the most important part was that she was already calling herself mine. How much easier could this get?
Answer me, damn it!
She exclaimed. I refused to fulfill her demand. I would only answer to myself and my master, no one else.
He's gone, Abby. He's mine now. He's already converted and accepted the evil side of himself. You'll never get him back now.
Bullshit!
She exclaimed while putting up a separator from my leader.
If I know my protector demon well enough, he will fight back. He won't succumb to your dastardly plans.
I beg to differ. Restrain her, Darius.
With that, I followed his instructions and grabbed at her wings, pulling her back to restrain the woman. However, before being able to fully do so, the traitor sent a huge shock of electricity through me. At the action, I wavered and didn't realize what was happening. For at that moment, I began to really consider who this woman was. I managed to grab her by the ankle and pull her back into my grasp. She was now facing me while fear was pouring out of her body. She tried fighting off my hold, yet her emerald eyes stared into mine once she had given up.
Darius! I know you're still in there! This isn't you! And you need to fight to be in control again!
Tighten your grip around her. Make her scream.
I did so without hesitation, yet there was something off about this scenario. Regardless, my claws continued to dig into her skin and make her scream in agony, leaving hole punctures in her arms.
Darius, stop! You're hurting me!
She cried aloud. At that phrase, a weird feeling of sorrow began to fill my chest. As to why was still confusing. It was like there was something I didn't understand, while trying to fulfill Satan's command. I kept trying to search for the knowledge, yet all I could get was darkness.
She is standing in the way of your future. Kill the girl and officially claim her as dead. Then when we fuse, we shall wed her. Drain her life away to officially make her our property.
Yes, Master, I involuntarily said. I don't think I was truly the one who said it. Then I felt the sudden warmth of my fire beginning to build as if to burn her alive. Slowly the scent of burning flesh began to fill my nostrils as she began to cry out a final time.
Darius, ow! Please Please stop! Don't do this! You're breaking your promise to me!
Right at that phrase, my brain was finally able to click her importance to me. She revived my true self and changed my life, all because I was bound to her through one thing. I was her protector demon. I was currently putting her in pain. Because of the hellish dagger, it dragged me into the dark until I couldn't see the light. But not anymore. Fighting every inch of myself, I wrapped the chains connected to my bottom pair of arms around my wrists once and twisted them out of the ground. Finally gaining control of myself, I dropped Abby knowing she could fly with her wings and whipped the chains around the devil, wrapping him as tightly as I could so he couldn't move. Being successful, he yelled in frustration while I gritted my teeth. This bastard will pay for what he made me do.
What the hell are you doing?
He exclaimed.
You are supposed to be attacking her, not me.
She is not my enemy. You are. Instantly, I activated my fire as I held the chains within my hands. The metal began to glow orange within a matter of seconds, beginning to burn my opposer's clothes. Yet as the hotness reached his skin, he began to shout at the top of his lungs. I was dealing damage. However, all things must come to an end. I just didn't like how quickly that action did. For the next thing I knew, the devil began to spin himself in mid-air, causing the chains to pull tight and yank me by my wrists into the same spinning motion. The speed of which Satan used was indescribable. I only saw the world as a blur as I kept trying to yank the shackles off from the chains, my arms continuously stretching from the magnitude. It wasn't for long, though. As I kept trying to focus and figure out what to do, I was slammed into multiple structures of some sort of concrete, having pieces hitting my body, but mostly they slammed into my head, feeling like I had been punched by a gorilla from the amount of blows I took. My brain began to feel lightheaded. No conscious thought came to mind, yet I was still viewing the spinning world around me. After that, I heard a burst of the chain breaking, and I was flung up into the air. I desperately tried flapping my wings in order to stay out of Satan's reach. However, the chains that were connected to my shackles were still long enough for him to forcefully yank me down at an extreme speed. The world was once more a blur, and the last thing I could comprehend was the impacting sound of my body slamming into the ground. From there, my vision faded to black, and I fell unconscious.
This has been Chapter 30, Last Man Standing. Tune in to the next video for Chapter 31. Thank you for listening.